everyone. Welcome back to episode number 76 of Merritt in the Morning. I'm getting the nod from producer Josh back there. So he is 30-year state senator Jim Merritt.
He is the president of the Greater Lawrence Chamber of Commerce, Brad Klopfenstein.
So, Jim, welcome. We're going to be talking...
We haven't done this in a while.
We haven't. We're like 3 or 4 weeks since our last episode. We're going to be talking crisis communications today.
We are. And who are our sponsors?
We have 2 fabulous sponsors. One of them, the Honey Baked Ham Company. Locations at 96 in Michigan, Greyhound Pass in Carmel. They are open basically, 10 to 6, 10 to 7 every day. So lunch, dinner, you can eat in, you can carry out all your pork products. They also have turkey and other things.
They have desserts, and their chocolate cake is very good.
It is. Mm-hmm. So they will hook you up. They will hook up your parties. But go there twice a day at least and get set up. Jim, who is our other sponsor? You have a prop this week.
Stockyards Bank, which works into ham.
It does.
We've never meshed it.
Next time Stockyards opens a branch, we need to have the Honey Baked Ham Company come in with some samples and hand out ham with next to the inflatable pig. So that
I don't know why they've been our sponsors forever now, and I don't know why we ever put the two together, but it works.
It does.
When I drive along and I'm in traffic, northeastern part of Marion County on 465, it's a good stress reliever.
Squishing a pig.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I like it. So I assume, I know that's because that's their piggy bank. So, but they have this giant inflatable pig, which I want for one of our shows. Interview the pig.
Yeah.
So, our guest this week, Jennifer Brilliant.
Good morning.
Welcome to beautiful Lawrence, Indiana.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, so you have had a long, illustrious career. We'll start in the beginning. You were a Franklin Central Flash.
That is correct. And not just a flash, I was a flashette. Not a flashlight, a flashette. So that was always fun in college because people did, what? You were a flashlight? No, it's not a flashlight.
And then you were a Sycamore.
Was.
So you took you were a telecommunications major.
Communication studies.
Communication studies. Okay. So from there, I've got some notes. You were at WRTV for 8 years. It looks like THR for 3 years. You did radio in Cincinnati and television.
I did.
And you made tiny cakes.
I did.
Tiny cakes.
I want to know about the tiny cakes.
Yeah, so let me just say, I believe there are no limitations on how many times we get to reinvent ourselves in life. So once I was paroled from news, I left news, I did a various cornucopia of jobs, one of which I made mini cupcakes infused with local craft beer. And this was right when craft beer was really booming. Mm-hmm. So I partnered with area breweries, which they had a requirement, they had to serve food. Right. So I met that requirement, and then they provided me with all the beer. So I ended up with about 97 flavors. So I could make a cupcake out of pretty much anything.
How's an IPA cupcake?
Oh, and there are lots of things you can do. So you play off the bitterness. So I would do a lime, margarita cupcake.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right,
I've never heard.
I want to talk about brewing and tiny cakes now.
I can be coaxed out of retirement occasionally in my
so you do special requests
sometimes
when there's no crises going on.
Right.
All right. So so you're in broadcasting. You say you were paroled from broadcasting. Was that a relief to get out?
That's a tricky question because it really was such a formative part of my identity, spending almost 20 years in news. So I'll tell you the most striking thing that happened when I left news. I had a snow day, and I didn't know what to do with myself. Normally when it snows, that's a 12 to 14-hour day ahead. And I got to sit in my living room and drink coffee and wave to the people outside. So that part of it was a relief.
Yeah, let's go towards Katrina.
Yeah.
And I know you well, and I think that really formed a lot of your feelings, a lot of your it formed a culture for you of news and how that affected you and how you went down to New Orleans.
So when you look back on the things that you were strongest in covering, everybody has their thing. Weather, when it was actually weather. was something that it really resonated with me. So when Katrina hit, we went down on our own. We were kind of late to the game. 13 was already embedded with Indiana Task Force 1. We were playing catch up.
Mhm.
So, but by the grace of God, we ended up finding them, which, I mean, phone lines were down, cell service was out. It was really unbelievable. But I think the most striking thing about Katrina, and I've covered probably 20 tornadoes in my career. When you cover a tornado, you've got the epicenter. And then you go a couple miles outside and life is normal. I was there for 10 days, and 10 days I didn't see normal once. Multiple states, there was no normal. It was so vast. And so many things that I saw, it was striking to me that we were in the United States of America. There were just so many breakdowns. I didn't see a relief vehicle until Thursday. The storm hit Monday, and it wasn't because they weren't staging. It was that there were political disagreements holding them back. So yeah, that really affected me. And then being embedded with Indiana Task Force 1, I don't think people really understand and respect the elite teams that we have here in Indiana and how often they're deployed. But when I came home, I even considered joining the fire service. Those are my people. And I'm very purpose driven. So, I have to have something that contributes. And it was really remarkable, the things that I saw there.
Clap. Do you remember the stage collapse?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I distinctly remember what I was doing when that happened.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay.
And it was an incredible evening to experience, and as well as the fact that her husband, Jeremy Brilliant, was on television 2, 3, 4 hours describing it to everybody. And I think you two are in business together with crisis management.
Yes.
And that might have given him kind of a floor of what crisis management is about as well, and may have prepared him for what you're doing now.
When we started our company about 2 years ago, it varied the path. Originally, we started out doing more marketing, and then we got into media training, kind of focusing on the first responder world, municipalities. And then we just kind of stumbled into crisis comms. And the reason is you would not believe the municipalities, private companies, fire departments, schools, they do not have a crisis communication plan. And the stage collapse is an excellent example because the breakdown in communication, top 5 things that went wrong that day. And so people don't really understand what crisis communication is because they have a crisis ops plan or a tactical plan. But if you can't communicate to your public, if you don't know who says what to who and when, and you don't have all that laid out ahead of time, that is not the time in the middle of the crisis just try to pull a plan together. And that's what happens over and over again. So when I talk about being purpose driven, this is so important because I've seen the other side of it from news. I've seen when it fails. And it takes, just from a reputation and a trust standpoint, it can take years to rebuild that. The common answer that we get is, we'll figure it out. No, you won't.
Communication is not their daily job.
No, and it's not tangible.
Right.
So it's not sexy. It's not, you can't show off, it's like a new fire truck you can show off. You can show off training. There's nothing to show off with crisis communication except for when everything goes south. And the fact that your lack of communication doesn't become the story.
Right.
That is when you shine.
So I'm thinking Uvalde, Texas, when they had the shooting and the police chief just kind of went off into the wind.
Yeah.
That was a clear failure.
Yeah.
What are some of the best and worst that you've seen in your career?
Well, Uvalde takes the cake, right?
Yeah.
So Jeremy and I led the communications internal and external plan for Johnson County's active intruder training that happened earlier in June. They're one of 2 counties in the state that train countywide, which is important because in a situation like a school shooting or any sort of active shooter, you will work with mutual aid partners. If you've never worked with them before, everybody has their own approach and their own way of doing things. And this was a massive breakdown in Uvalde. like everybody had their own way of doing things. So you're creating operational drag right off the bat. Because if you can't communicate with one another, then you don't know how to get to the operational and the tactical issues. So yes, Uvalde, but locally, yeah, the stage collapse, the South Side house explosion,
Yeah.
plenty of political missteps. Yeah, and I can, it's almost like I view the world through stories and I listen in sound bites. So a sound bite is when you're listening to the news, the piece of sound that's used from something that's a sound bite. But that's how I still go through the world. And when I see something, when I see a company or leadership kind of going down the wrong path, I've already written the story of the holes that are going to be poked.
Yeah.
That's journalists, that's what you do is you point out the failures, but when you haven't planned for those failures, they're just amplified.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, and it was something that no one ever had seen before, and it was crisis situation, and if you had to replay all that and advising someone like a governor or a president, what would be the top 3 points or factors that you would bring to the table to someone such as that?
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be a new virus. We can have it with a heavy flu season, or you name it. You have to have a external and internal crisis communication plan. You have to know who says what, who's the decision maker. This is huge. You have to have redundancy. So let's say you're the governor and you're on a trip in Europe. Who's going to talk? Who's going to make those decisions? You have to have that redundancy built in. And in the first responder world, that's a huge part of training is redundancy. But we don't carry it over into communication. So a plan needs to have holding statements. It needs to state who are the decision makers and who are the backups. So I would say that would be those big points that I would have advised.
And with an entity, let's just say any type of government, how often does that have to be revised? Is it personnel leaving, or I would think that revisions are a necessity on something like that.
Like any other training plan.
It's a live plan.
It's a live plan, and you hit on something so important. You can have a plan, and it can meet all your compliance needs, and if it's collecting dust on a shelf, you might as well not have a plan. It has to be drilled. It has to be practiced. You have to know. You can't put Susie Jones will be handling this. Does Susie know that? Does Susie know what to say? Social media, which is huge, right? Who is going to be posting on social media? Who has the passwords? Is the person that has the passwords, are they still working there? Who else has the passwords? These are the sort of things that you have to think about. And when you drill it, when you practice it, you're not looking for perfection. You're looking for the blind spots so you can fix them on a bright sunny day versus when everything goes south.
So we're talking to Jennifer Brilliant, CEO of Brilliant Marketing and Communications. So what you're saying is your disaster plan, your communication plan should be practiced no different than the fire drills from when we were in school.
No different.
So twice a year, you
At
do,
least.
yeah.
And if you have key people that have left, you need to replace them, and then you need to drill it again.
So when you, let's just say you're addressing a fire department, do you play it out when you're talking, when you put a plan together, and you have 5-alarm fire or something? Are you a part of the solution of getting everybody on trucks and what planes crashed and you have to get everything going on? Is that a part of your company?
It is not. So that's operational and tactical, which our fire departments are very good at. But who is talking to the public? Who is talking to the media? Where is your family reunification location? Where are you staging the media? Do you have holding statements ready to go? What you do in that first 2 minutes or 10 minutes, that sets the tone for how the whole situation will play out, because the public won't remember a perfect executed plan on a tactical side, but they'll remember how you talk to them, and that includes body language. Are you giving correct information? Does the public know that you are a legitimate source to find that correct information? And I will say, a death knell is no comment, because then you create, it's my favorite, you create a informational void that will be filled. Like, people are just waiting to fill it. So, and one of the big things that we're finding in our trainings, the media has changed, right? They still they serve an important part, but you have to consider all these neighborhood chat groups, Ring apps, Nextdoor apps. That's where people are getting their information now. And if you are not controlling your narrative, I promise you they will.
It's funny. Josh and I, right before the show, we were kind of making fun of a local gadfly who calls himself a reporter, but he is not. What do you recommend to your clients when talking to non-traditional media? Do you say, hold them off? What's your coaching on that?
Listen, this statistic is a moving target, but the latest that we have, 65% of Americans get their news online. And that could be push alerts from a legitimate traditional news outlet, or it could be a rogue reporter. It could be a chat group. It could be a Joe Schmo, whatever. So we advise you got to treat them just like you treat the media, because they're getting information out just as quickly as the legitimate stations are, and their video, it holds just as much weight as the video from like a THR.
So we're talking to Jennifer Brilliant, CEO of Brilliant Communications, or Marketing and Communications.
Just communication.
Just communication. Scratch marketing. Okay. We got to.
But that's what we're doing right now.
It is. Yes. So we got to give our sponsors some love.
Yes.
Jennifer, you want to hold up the pig? We want to thank Stockyards Bacon Trust. I didn't give their locations.
You did not.
I failed at my job. All right. So Stockyards Bacon Trust, they've got locations: 71st and Binford, Carmel, downtown Indianapolis, Plainfield, a new one in in Zionsville up on
And they invited us.
421. Yeah, we were there. We got to cut two
That's where I
ribbons
got
with
the
them.
pig.
With them. We've got Greenwood down at County Line in Emerson, and they're on 135 down in Center Grove. And I did drive by. They've got they've acquired ground at 22nd Meridian.
Yes.
So that'll be next.
Yes.
And
yes.
they've mentioned maybe Whitestown. So anyhow, if you've got money, give it to Stockyards Bacon Trust. They're awesome. We also want to thank the Honey Baked Ham Company. Locations, Greyhound Pass in Carmel, and that's in front of the Menards. So if you're in the Menards parking lot, look out. The first thing you will see, the Honey Baked Ham Company. Go there, buy your lumber, and then go have lunch.
Yeah. Wonderful people at Honey Baked Ham.
They are.
Long-time sponsor.
They are.
They've been with us for 72 episodes now.
Yeah. So we're on episode 76. Do we have
76?
Yeah, this is 76. Do we have sponsors on the first one? I got to go back and watch it.
I don't know.
I'm not sure when our sponsors came on.
Nobody watched
but
it
both
anyway.
been. Hey, 300 people have watched that first episode. So they also
76 episodes.
So they all Honey Baked Ham also has a location at 96 in Michigan, right down the road from the new Stockyards branch.
That's where I go.
That's your hood.
That's
So we are coming to you like usual, not always, but usual, Cafe Audrey's, beautiful Fort Harrison. So back to our guest, Jennifer Brilliant. Question: Crisis communication. So you were talking about you have 10 minutes, maybe. There is also often a race to make sure you are getting information out before other people start telling your story. How do you coach people on that?
Well, and that's where planning has to kick in. So like any other training, it has to become muscle memory. You have an unfolding crisis, there's adrenaline, there's uncertainty. So again, if you're trying to pull it together then, it's not going to happen. But if you already know who's going to say what, you have holding statements ready to go, then you can just deploy that and you're ahead of it. Most people go with the first version that's put out there.
Yeah.
And if you stall, and this a lot of leaders say, I want to wait till we have the entire picture. Listen, that's a huge misstep. You can say a lot and not say that much. But you make that statement. This is what we can say. This is what we're monitoring, and this is when we'll be back with more information.
And that's all about calming people. Fear is probably working against everybody on
Absolutely.
this. And when you work with local government, and that's primarily that's where you reside right now with your business, or is it larger? Number one, but number two, do you find that most local government isn't prepared?
Yeah, I mean,
Which
again,
is scary in itself.
communication is just considered a line item, and nobody really thinks about it. You just think, well, we have all of these other plans in place, comms will just fold in. But again, I've read at least 50 after action reports, and communication failures is always in the top 5 every single time.
Now, is that a factor of just administrations turnover every 4 or 8 years, or is that the Green Township trustee in Wayne County doesn't think they need one?
It will never happen to us.
Okay.
It will never happen to us. And when I was a reporter, I cannot tell you how many times I never thought this would happen. Well, it does. And
Yeah.
one of the gifts news granted me is I've seen the worst case of everything. And so, yeah, it can happen. And you know what? Most likely it will happen. An external or an internal crisis can happen. And if you're naive to think that it won't, you're already behind the 8 ball.
So let me ask. So in a scenario where false information has gotten out, either somebody else put it out first or what was originally reported was inaccurate, how do you coach your clients on how to handle that and bring the narrative back
That's a good question.
what is factual and ignore this other stuff?
So ignore good,
Yes.
silence bad, but don't go to war with the keyboard warrior on the chat groups.
Right. Don't punch down.
You will never win that.
Yeah.
You have to establish yourself as the official source of information. And then you can correct that information on your channels. And, if it's an unfolding situation where you're doing press conferences, you can address, we're aware that this information is circulating. We can confirm that is incorrect. Here is the correct information. And just over and over and over, you put out the correct information. And if it's something, and we had this with a situation in Whitestown with the cleaning crew was unfortunately killed. A lot of misinformation was getting out online. And I give the police department huge kudos, and we actually use this in our training. They didn't go head to head. They put it out on their own, and they just fact-based. Don't get emotional about it. Just state the facts. And, rumors will happen. But if you are on record with the correct information, that's what matters. But if you have socials and you have 6 followers, you're clearly not an established source of information. So it's the work you have to do before something happens to win the credibility and trust of your community. That's what matters.
But that really is what happened with COVID. It got way out there on the limb with so many people thinking they knew what was going on and some guessing about it. And the narrative was lost from day one and never gotten back.
No.
And so with your company, with Jeremy, what kind of local entities, who are you working? Tell our audience exactly who you're working with and how your phone is ringing off the hook with clients. How is that growing right now?
Yeah, so we've kind of found a niche that no one else is kind of in this lane with fire departments, police departments, municipalities. I would say my primary load right now is fire departments. I'm doing a lot of media, crisis comms. We will actually write a crisis comm plan for you and then help you implement it. And we'll come back and train it. We're on retainer for some municipalities for when that happens. Then we step in and we handle it behind the scenes. But there's just such a real need here. People just don't know how to handle this kind of thing. And so, it is, again, filling my cup to be able to arm them as best as we can, prepare them for that bad day when it comes.
So now with your clients, obviously there's some people who are better at this than others. If they say this person's going to be our spokesperson and they're clearly not good, do you try to coach them up or encourage them to put somebody else in that position?
Yeah, so what first thing we'll do is we do a lot of one-on-one work with public information officers to kind of help best practices. But yeah, behind the scenes, if we see something, like maybe this isn't the best choice.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what we see more often than not. Communities that the different entities don't play well in the sandbox together. So one particular community we've worked with, the communications director for the town finds out about police or fire on social media, which should never happen. So she's blindsided with something. The lines aren't connected. And in situations like that, get your people together. Who are your spokespeople? Who are your PIOs? Have coffee once a month. Get on the same page. Redundancy. Copy and paste, share that same message. So there's no disparity on the different messages that are being put out, because I tell you, nothing creates mistrust like different messaging going out.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times you have agencies that just don't play well, or a particular leader that kind of jumps the line and puts out their own message. You can't change that. So how do you work around it? Is there somebody else in that department that you can work with? Find those holes to get in so you have a consistent message that you are sending out as a town or a city or a community, so you don't create guesswork for the public.
So now the old adage is, it's not the crime that gets you in trouble, it's the cover-up.
Yeah.
How do you communicate that to your clients?
Rip that Band-Aid off. Just do it. I'm here to tell you some stories that I won't get into particular individuals involved, but that won't make it go away. It grows legs, and then it becomes something that is incredibly difficult to recapture the trust and the credibility. If you just rip the Band-Aid off, acknowledge your mistakes, right? That humility matters to people, and then move on. That story will die quicker in the 24-hour cycle than if you try to cover it up. And what we say, like, the worst thing you can ever say is no comment, because a reporter hears, we got something that we don't want to talk about. And so then you start digging.
Well, my impression is Americans are a pretty forgiving bunch. If you say, I screwed up, I'm sorry, they'll give you a pass.
People make that mistake a lot.
Yeah.
They really do.
But instead say, no, that wasn't me.
Yeah. Klopp, Jennifer's life is not one big emergency, but she had a fire when she was a kid.
It was a grease burn.
Yes, a grease burn. Tell our audience about that and about your work with the burn camp.
Yeah. So when I was 9, my brother and I were playing Monopoly. He got up earlier than me on Saturday morning, and all of a sudden he had hotels on all of his property, and I just wasn't going to stand for that. So I went darting through our kitchen, and we had a galley kitchen. My dad is sitting on the other side of the table drinking his coffee, and I just pulled under my mom, who just happened to have a pan of bacon grease and an iron skillet that she was going to drain the grease into a coffee can in the sink. I ran underneath her. It was in an instant. My head hit the pan, and so grease went down my left side of my face, shoulders, and hands.
Ouch.
So that was not a fun experience.
No.
And it really shaped a lot of who I am and the direction I took in life. I'm fortunate that my scarring was minimal. But fast forward, when I came back to Indianapolis in news, I was at WRTV, I did a story on a camp that doesn't exist anymore, but People's Burn Foundation. And almost instantaneously, my injury made sense. This is why I was burned. This is why I healed the way I healed. And this is where I belong, organization. I've been almost 10 years with Hoosier Burn Camp now. And I handle all of the video production. I handle all the communication. And actually at camp this past year, I wrote our crisis comms plan along with another volunteer who's a fire chief who also works with Homeland Security. So he wrote the ops, I wrote the comms, and we drilled it at camp. And guess what? We found 1 million holes. 1 million holes. So we rewrote it. And so not only are those my people, and these kids are so amazing, but it's also another opportunity to use my skills.
When you look at people who communicate, are spokespeople for a living, who's the best at it?
Oh, man.
Or who are good ones? I mean, they don't even necessarily have to be the best, but who are people you look at and say, yeah, they know what's going on?
Yeah, the Chris Bailey with IMPD is a pro. Now, he was a PIO for a long time, but he handles things correctly. I would say IMPD does a really good job of disseminating information, staying on top of it. Last 4th of July, when we had the unfortunate shootings downtown, Chris was on scene and was out there till 2, 3 in the morning and did a press conference at 2 in the morning. That matters. That you're putting your face, you're reassuring people that we're on this. This is serious, you know. So I would say he's a pro.
You know, it's interesting to say that because the riots in 2020 were a downtown Indianapolis were a demonstration of absolute terror and terrible communication.
Terrible.
Yeah, and now Bailey's deputy mayor, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. He cleaned up the grounds of City Hall
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah. I would say another great communicator is Ben Hunter, who is now with IU.
Yes.
Again, a PIO through IMPD, but he gets in front of things, and they handle it appropriately.
Yeah.
So before we let you go, I have a question on logistics. So
Okay.
you were down at Katrina. Obviously, you said these people are going through the worst times of their lives. Everything is wiped out. Logistically, how do you make sure that you guys are being fed and have a place to stay?
As a member of the media?
As a member of the media, just because there's no rooms to be had, these people don't.
That's a really, I've talked to her about that. That's a really good question.
You know, I get asked so often, you know, well, when you were out in the field, did hair and makeup come out with you? No, never. Katrina was interesting because I slept in a car for 10 days. I survived on sugar-free Red Bull and power bars. There were no resources. There were no hotel rooms. The closest thing to a shower I had was a hotel lobby still had power, and I took a quick bath in the sink. But yeah, so you know, it's I always had a go bag ready, and you know, you always have food in that bag. You have to expect that there will be no resources for you. So going into that, and just it was survival. It was funny. The task force, when we finally caught up with them, I have a pair of hiking boots that I've had for 30 years, and those things have saved me from numerous glass shreds and rusty nails. But so we're getting in the car, and the commander for task force says, "You guys are spraying everything down with bleach, right?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
No,
In a car. So it's we had to be prepared. And you know, in news, very much like first responders, you expect the worst, so that you are prepared.
Jim, I'm going to give you the last question.
Well, I number one, thank you very much for being here. And I've heard a lot of this. You've got a burgeoning business. The Hoosier Burn Camp is something that you love. What do you see the future of crisis communications on a local level? And are people starting to get it, or is it something new that local government still hasn't reached their conference table?
Like anything else, I think talking about it helps. Just reassuring people that this isn't a necessity. This isn't a bonus. This isn't an extra. You have to have this, because when you don't, and when things do not turn out well, which they will not, it will take you years to recover from that. So that's really the mindset that we're trying to instill is, do you want to deal with this as a crisis and be proud of how you handled it and protected and informed your community? Or do you want to be a after action report that people like me use in trainings?
Yeah. So how can people get a hold of you if they want more information or want to hire you?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, brilliantcomm.com. So COMM.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So I'm very active on LinkedIn. So either way, yep, I would love to chat and see if we can help you out.
Wonderful. Jennifer Brilliant, thank you very much for being our guest today. This has been fabulous. She's a great communicator.
She is.
You're good at your job. Not all our guests are. So we want to thank our sponsors, Stockyards Bank and Trust. Locations, I'm going to do them in reverse order this time. Or a very
You got to mix
different
it
one.
up. You
I got
keep
it.
fresh.
So they're in Plainfield. They're in Center Grove at 135, way down by Trafalgar. They are Greenwood at County Line and Emerson in front of Ale Emporium. They're at 71st and Binford. They are in Zionsville on 421 Michigan Road at about 116th Street. And they're in Carmel, the branch my wife's going to manage.
Yeah, and that's the branch I use.
So, yes. So thanks, Dr. Bank and Trust. Thanks to the Honey Baked Ham Company. Locations 96 in Michigan, Greyhound Pass and Carmel. Go in there for lunch, dinner, eat in, take out, big parties, catering, whatever you need, they will take care of you. Got all the sides, all the drinks, all the meats. You just tell them what you need. They will tell you that they've got it handled. So thank you all for watching. We will be back at least in 2 weeks because I know Eric Bassler, outgoing state senator from down in Washington, Indiana, will be our guest first week of August. So I look forward to that. Thanks for watching.
1